Now it's time to pivot with the upper body. You see, with the last bit of leg drive, you make the full rotational pivot around the hip with the upper body. Does the shoulder change its height? No, not at all. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. My name's Aram and I was asked, what is it that good rowing technique looks like? What are the things we should be looking at? What are the things we should be careful about? For a start, I do not think that there is one perfect rowing technique. The reason why there is no perfect technique is because every person and every human body is built in a different way. So you have longer legs, you have longer upper body, and this changes a bit of the optics and also a bit of the timing. However, if you know the principles, you can always adapt to your personal needs. When I look at technique, the first thing I start to correct is the finish position. For me, the finish is the start of everything. At the finish, I'm looking for a couple of things specifically. Most important aspect is this one. I do want a full force connection between the foot stretchers and the hands. Sounds simple. How do you achieve it? Alex does it in almost a perfect way here. By the way, this is Alex. He's one of my athletes, Alex Moderna. He's an Austrian lightweight athlete, extremely ambitious, very talented. And this was during a Bio photo shooting last year. So full force connection between foot stretchers and hands. How do you achieve this? In the following way. You want to make sure that you connect with your chest bone and your lower abs, and you want to make sure that your body weight, every bit you lean back, still has a bit of effect on the foot stretchers. Everything you do here, you just watch his feet. Right there, watch his feet. Still tension. It's like he shovels himself into that foot stretcher plate. Don't think you have to push with your full foot on the foot stretcher all the time. That's not the case. You actually want to stabilize with the foot straps, with the foot stretcher. Alright, body position. What should it look like? A couple of things to be careful about. Make sure that your hands and your elbows are in one line, because the force vector is traveling then in a straight line. By force vector, I mean it's not efficient to do it this way. You want to make sure that your elbows and your hands are at the same height. If you had them bent, the problem is that you always have to pull around the corner, therefore not effective. So your shoulders should be relaxed. Check your shoulder position here. This is certainly relaxed. It's not high up, it's relaxed. Same time, elbow and hands are the same height. And if you pull, you want to make sure you pull to the outside. You can't do this naturally on a linear drive erg. This is why they don't really resemble the true rowing motion. But with that outward motion, you can actually stabilize the back. If you only have a linear erg, just make sure your elbows still move to the side of it, and you use your chest bone, indicated yellow here, to stabilize. So there's it's a tri-point between your shoulders, elbows, and chest bone. And then you can transfer force through the body right onto the foot stretchers and the hands. Where should your head be? In the natural position. Don't try to be here, don't try to be there. Yeah, so oftentimes I get asked the question, where should the shoulder be? And the shoulder should be in a natural position. So you don't want to bring it too far back, simply because bringing it too far back is not effective anymore. And you don't want to bring it too far up front. Have it this way. So I'm more on the up front side, so this way, because if I move my shoulder back or not, it doesn't create a massive change in body posture, but at the same time, it allows me to focus more on my elbows. So I would leave the shoulders naturally where they are. The only way to mess this up is if you try to move your shoulders backward. This is what I see, like a weightlifting motion or the bodybuilding motion. This is not what we need. Actually, natural flow of shoulder motion, that's it. Because the shoulders have to move forward pretty quickly now again. Okay, let's move on to the next steps. As you move forward, the first thing that disconnects, and you see this a bit, there's his body, Alex's body becomes a bit loose and flexible. Have a look at his upper chest. You see, it's not like forward in a stiff way, but he becomes a bit loose around the shoulder girdle and around the chest area. And when his hands move forward, it's actually not so much his hands. That's one important thing. Make sure that your elbows are pulling forward. if your elbows pull forward or actually in direction of inboards, your shoulders follow naturally. So if you try to move forward with stiff hands, your upper body will not be flexible enough, but it needs to be. Also, your shoulders won't be flexible enough. So make sure your shoulders are loose and the elbow actually drops quite a bit. You now see a bit of a height difference between Alex's hand and Alex's elbow. And this way you want to make sure your shoulders are loose and relaxed. And then instead of just going with the hand forward, I try to bring the elbow forward, so the entire forearm forward. And this way I don't just pull the shoulder, I actually pull the lat, which you will see in an instant. That's very important. Right now you should feel a bit of tension right there. That's a pre-tension that we are trying to create. So instead of pushing forward, you try to pull the shoulder and the lat forward. He's consistently moving with his forearm forward, loose grip on the hands, not too tight, a loose grip. This is the recovery, so relaxation phase, but you're still accelerating the boat. You don't just want to bring the shoulders and the arms forward. This is not important. And watch how his arms are still bent, his shoulders are not all the way forward. It's actually his entire lower trunk that is moving forward. So this part right there. This is what we need to move forward. We need to bring it from this position all the way to this position. Let's have a look again. We go back a couple of frames. This is where he started out. And now it's bringing the entire trunk into this position. And that's another very important aspect. I know I'm being pretty detailed here, but it's so important to understand this. Let's go back. The main rotation point for most athletes is probably here in the upper section of the trunk. So you see this when people go forward this way, become hunched. But what you actually want to do is you want to bring the entire torso forward, and that's the main difference. So the main rotation point then is the hip. Right, let's follow that. See this? The entire torso, including the lower back, comes forward. Another question I get a lot: how straight should your back be? As straight as possible, but don't exaggerate. It is impossible to sit upright and straight all the time. This is nothing you have to worry about in a boat native situation, because there's never a linear wear on your spine anyway. You don't pull in a linear way. You pull actually outward together, outward again. So actually inward, across, outward. There's never a true linear load on your spine. It's not like a deadlift. And if we watch Alex, you can see he has moved his entire torso forward from the hip, starting from the hip. So actually from here. So he went from here to there. This is the most important thing to watch out for. Okay, let's delete this. Follow Alex a bit more. Now his upper body doesn't move forward much more. You see that his arms are still loose. You see his fingers are still loosely on the oar handles, on the grip. And now is the active part of the legs, of the glutes and the hamstrings. Now Alex is working mostly with the hamstrings here, and he's actually trying to pull the bi-rower towards bow, because this is the way you should also propel the boat, in a loose way. And if we follow that along, you see his upper body is moving a bit more forward, but is still, most of his body weight is on his seat. How do I know this? Because his shoulder doesn't have a lot of tension. This is very, very effective. And with his heels, he's actually pulling the boat underneath himself. You see the bi-rower moves a lot. He's not moving that much. He's still, in comparison to that door, he is moving a lot forward. Now we are passing half slide recovery. Let's delete this. It's time to prepare your hands. And this is what a lot of people are missing also in the boat. You want to bring your hands up in time, not so much to have a beautiful blade work in the boat or to be more efficient on the erg. It is because you then transfer all your body weight onto your seat. If you bring your hands up, it means that your main center of gravity needs to support itself around here. This is very important. And you can also see the rear part of his seat is actually not loaded. It's the front part of the seat that is beautiful to see. He prepares his arms on the way forward with the last bit of recovery. With the last bit of recovery, hands go up. And now starts the drive. Zoop, in the drive, and watch his shoulders. This is very important. What we have just created is a bit of pre-tension in the lat, because when did he actually straighten his arms? Now, with the last bit of going up, Alex straightened his arms completely, went all the way up, created nice tension here in the lat and in the triceps. Beautiful. Got a bit of tension there. And as we move forward, there is no change in shoulder position. Zero change in shoulder position. That shoulder is exactly the way it should be. Check this out. Comes to the catch, prepares, drives. The shoulder does not move. And that's very important. How do you do this? You do it in a way that you're pretty soft at the catch with your legs, but still you have a nice and solid build-up. If you do it the right way, your force curve picks up rapidly and has a pretty steady plateau. Now, watch this once more. Brings his hands up. Very good. You see, not the entire foot is on the foot stretcher plate because it's not possible. Alex has longer legs than upper body, so his shins are almost vertical, but not quite, because this is the way his body proportions are built. If you have shorter legs, your shins will be vertical, sometimes even overhanging. You know, this again is something which is individual. But the main principle is that your weight is on the seat and your shoulders are relaxed and you have a bit of pre-tension here. Because with the last bit of preparation and getting pre-tension, and then you pull on your hands, as this is already under tension a bit, it is swift and natural. There's no need to have any extra additional tightening up. Not needed. Absolutely not needed. The reason why Alex can keep his upper body in position is because the forces are now traveling naturally through the body. From the shoulders to the hip. Hands, shoulders, lat, right into the hip, right into the knees, right into the ankles, foot stretchers. And if we follow this stroke further, you see his upper body angle has almost not changed. Now, as we approach half slide, it's time to use the upper body when the legs are almost running out of body motion. So the legs are almost stretched, the boat is well propelled now, it has been well accelerated, and as we run out of motion with the legs, the arms are still in a loose hang. Now it's time to pivot with the upper body. You see, with the last bit of leg drive, you make the full rotational pivot around the hip with the upper body. Does the shoulder change its height? No, not at all. And does his head work a lot? No, pretty relaxed. His facial expression, pretty relaxed. Watch his natural height of pulling. It's just below the chest. And let's go back a couple of frames and just see where he started at the catch. Right here. Natural pulling height is about 1 fist below the shoulder. This is where you should be. And this is where he moves back. He uses his arms along with his upper body to support these semicircles of the inboards on the way out. If you're in a linear erg, you just move them along to the side here. Uses his weight, and this is a preference that Alex does. He uses his arms at the finish to clear the blades from the water. So this part doesn't see a lot of action anymore. It's just clearing the blade from the water, just exiting, and this is where you reduce the force. So if you look at force curves, this is where it is still up, drop. smooth exit. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Let's look at it from a different perspective. So the hands move out, arms relaxed, along with the elbow follows the upper body. Hands cross, elbows support that cross motion. Upper body follows along, shoulders are relaxed. Now you create a bit of tension in the shoulders, just pre-tension. You pull along. You accelerate the boat underneath yourself smoothly, effortlessly. You reach out. As you reach out, you stretch your arms, lift the arms, and start to drive. No shoulder change at all. When hands are about to cross, you pivot with the upper body and finish off nicely in a good position. All right, everybody, I hope this made sense. I hope it helped you to look at something, see, okay, this is how it could work, because that's the main idea of that video. And I'm sure if you follow these principles, you will row more effectively than before. All right, I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below, and I wish you a very, very good day. Bye-bye.